It's a pleasure to be up here because, like all of you, I'm a big fan of the TED Talk. And it's a great honor to be up here as part of TEDxFortTownshend's lineup. Now, there is a long way between giving a TEDx talk and having a shot, actually, at that coveted TED Prize to fund one wish to change the world. But I decided to imagine, just for today, that I had a TED genie of my own. So if I had a TED Prize wish, it would be for this: for education that ignites the heart and mind. The thing is, I believe that 21st century university should be a catalyst to create passionate and engaged citizens. What catalysts do is that they accelerate reactions. They create transformative environments. And one of the best examples I know of education that transforms both the heart and the mind is something called dialogue education. So I'm here to spark a conversation about what dialogue education is, why it's vital to 21st century citizenship, and how it could be an educational game changer. So first, like a lot of the TED speakers before us have done, let's talk about what it means to be a citizen. We've heard a lot of different versions of it today, and here's mine. I think that citizenship is way more than something like your passport photo, or how you vote, or when you pay your taxes. I think citizenship is a state of being. I think it's a series of choices and commitments that you make about the meaningful relationships that you build in your community. At its heart, citizenship is what it means to live well with others. And as citizens, we come together and we build communities around things that interest us and issues that impact our quality of life. And at the local level, this might mean coming together to protect a watershed, to organize a farmer's market, or to advocate for a walkable city. But our communities are also being called more and more to respond to challenges at the global scale, things like climate change, the search for renewable energy, and the need to rethink the economy. Now, the university is one of the most significant communities in a student's life, and I think that the time that any one of us spends there should kindle and spark enough of fire that we need to meet the challenges ahead, whether they're local or whether they're global. Because the thing is that we don't know what's around the bend, but we do know that it's going to be complicated, and it's going to be messy, and it's going to be ambiguous. And there's not going to be any easy solutions. We need to sort through a lot of competing voices and differing opinions out there. And we're going to need to think and to work together in new ways. So what I want to ask today is, how well does higher education prepare us to meet the complex challenges of real life? So this is probably a familiar space for many of you. Looks pretty normal. And so does this. From grade school and right on up into university, we have grown up, most of us, in this kind of setting. We've sat in rows of desks, facing forward, listening to, or sometimes tuning out, the teacher or the professor in front of us. We've plodded through dull textbooks. We've crammed for finals. And we've memorized materials just long enough to pass the multiple choice exam the next day. We also sat in deadly silence when the instructor's questioning fell flat. We've had professors who never asked us our name. And we've ended an entire term not knowing the first thing about the people who shared our classes. Our days might have been parceled out according to subject, and we juggled tests and projects and assignments along with family and friends and work, and not to mention debt. Like I said, all of that is pretty normal, but is it enough? Is it the best that we can do? We often wonder how the things that we learn in the classroom will relate to the things that we're going to face in the real world. So I want you to imagine it's the start of a new term. You're flipping through the course calendar. You've got anthropology 1,000, chemistry 3,100, earth sciences, history. How about this? Making a Difference 2012. On the first day, the instructor greets you with, "Welcome. Who do you want to be in the world?" Just imagine how your term would go if that were the guiding light. The thing is, we often treat education like it's a dress rehearsal for real life. But students aren't citizens in waiting. And citizenship is not something that matters only once you graduate and get a job. Education, I think, should prepare you to make not just a difference in the world later on, but to make a difference wherever you are right now. So let me share with you one way of making a difference. It's through something called dialogue education. Now, you might think that dialogue is, just a conversation between a bunch of people. We all know what it's like to have a conversation. But just ask yourself, when was the last time that you were really listened to? What did that feel like? What did that look like? Then again, when's the last time you really listened to someone else? When it comes to dialogue, I really like this definition of it, that it's a conversation with a center, not sides. And it's a conversation that can be put to work with some powerful results. We live in a world used to pitting different sides of a story against each other. News items, political debates, as Simon was saying, and reality TV shows. These all do thrive on polarizing opinions, on creating verbal showdowns, and on drawing lines between us and them. Our side is right, their side is wrong, and the point of entering the fray is to come out on top of the battle. And to be honest, this kind of public conflict and competition is captivating. Most of us can't help but be drawn into the spectacle of mudslinging. But I want to pose the idea for you that if we want more than spectacle, if we want to work for long-term solutions and for change that really matters, then squaring off will only get us so far. And I'm not against healthy, informed debate. Like I said, and I totally agree with Simon, it's a great way to exercise your critical thinking skills. And it's something that I've spent a good part of my young life doing in high school. But if the intent of squaring off is only to defend your position with guns blazing, then we're just escalating the tension and eroding common ground. If we want to actually understand what's going on and to sort through the noise and the spin, to get to the deeper issues, we need to look beyond solely defending our own territory. So when you understand dialogue as a conversation with a center and not sides, you come to see it as a tool that can help you navigate a messy world of differing opinions, of competing interests and conflicting values. As a problem-solving tool, dialogue goes beyond drawing lines and taking sides and offers a way to think together in a relationship. When you listen openly, put your judgment on hold, and stop planning your rebuttal, then dialogue becomes a way to relate constructively with others, to express views honestly, and to explore differences with respect. When you remove yourself from the center of attention and don't take your own position as final, at least going into the conversation, then dialogue becomes a way to hear the wisdom in every voice. At its heart, dialogue is something that changes how we talk to each other and how we listen to each other. And the results can be powerful, powerful enough that in the most devastating, polarized, and prolonged conflicts in places like South Africa, Northern Ireland, and the Middle East, what helped to ease the bloodshed and the stalemates was this quiet but persistent practice of dialogue. It happens between leaders, and it happens between ordinary citizens at the grassroots level, happening behind the scenes, far from public posturing and the saber rattling that is typical of these deeply rooted conflicts. So, what can we learn from all of this? I think it's that the world's most pressing problems right now need us to collaborate with a sense of community and not to outmaneuver against our opponents. The practice of dialogue has been used around the world to build peace. It's been used in local conflicts to dissolve those conflicts. And it's been used to make sure that individual voices are always heard. So the principles of dialogue, they're pretty simple, at least on paper. But if dialogue is such a powerful tool for building community and for understanding multiple and conflicting sides of a story, why isn't there more of it? Well, I think it's because it takes time and it takes effort to create the kinds of conditions for really good, constructive dialogue. And it takes practice to do it well. So my question is, can you learn to have a purposeful conversation? The thing is, only a handful of dialogue-based programs actually exist out there in higher education. But those that are out there are fantastic examples of experiential education and empowering citizenship. I want to paint a picture for you of what it looks like to explore citizenship through dialogue, using some examples that I've studied in Canada. As a dialogue student, you would be challenged regularly to take your learning outside of the classroom. You'd spend your semester as part of an interdisciplinary team that gets to tackle some pressing issues in your community. You'd learn to speak and write with clarity, with brevity, and with impact. You'd practice the art of powerful conversation with the movers and the shakers in your community. You'd have university mentors who would coach you to think clearly and creatively. You'd be able to tap into your passion and animate your ideas. And you'd do that by producing commentary pieces that you really cared about, by hosting roundtable discussions and organizing public forums. And the stories that come out of participating in dialogue programs like the ones I've just described, they're truly amazing. A semester in dialogue inspired a student named Megan to bring together her love of flowers with her newfound skills in community building. She opened a socially conscious flower shop that sources locally grown and ethically traded plants. But she did so in one of Vancouver's grittiest and most troubled neighborhoods, the downtown east side. She moved in where most people are trying to move out. And she created meaningful work in a marginalized community while also sharing her passion for greening urban spaces. Another story is for a term project. A student named Deanna challenged her community, her neighborhood, to start a zero-waste program and was able to grow her idea into a reality. Her term project actually caught the attention of city officials who helped implement her program in other neighborhoods. Dialogue education, when students are completing their studies in dialogue, they come out saying things like this: "That's what I imagined the university experience would be like." So from my own study of dialogue programs in action, I can say that students graduate having learned far more about the real world and themselves from one semester in dialogue than from years of just sitting through lectures and writing exams. And I've also spent a fair number of years in the university system as well, first as a science student, then as an art student, and then as a grad student. I've been squeezed into those desks, writing frantic notes in an anonymous sea of hundreds. I've memorized facts and crammed theories into my head the night before an exam, regurgitated it all the next day, and forgot it a week later. And I've wondered what I was supposed to do with all the stuff that I was learning. Now, I'm on the other side of the desk as a researcher and as an instructor. And I've seen both sides of the classroom now. And I'm trying to encourage my students, at least, to dig deep, to question, and to relate the material back to their own lives, because I don't want them or me to feel like their learning happens in a vacuum. No matter what stage you might be at in your schooling, I think education should get you thinking about what it means to live life well with others. And that's why I think dialogue could be an educational game changer. The seeds of citizenship should be sown through education, and not just education about our political system, but education that encourages us to think critically, to ask good questions, to listen well, and to challenge the status quo, and to care about the big picture. What dialogue education does is to give students the tools and the skills that they need to work together, to handle complexity and to cultivate resilience. In other words, to navigate and to change the world. So my TED wish is for universities to create more places where students can learn and practice authentic citizenship. We need time and to have deep and focused conversations, and we need space to include a diverse group of people. I see it as a call to action, a call to change the conversation about how we have conversations. I want to spark your curiosity about how dialogue inspires both community building and personal empowerment. I want to share my passion about the transformative impact of dialogue and the ways that it fires the heart and mind to help us figure out how to live well together. And I want to invite people into the network of collaborators who are already building groundwork to establish more dialogue programs in higher education. I believe the best university education is the one that prepares and challenges students to make a positive difference in the world. The university is already a great place to go and ask big questions about the world, but I think the challenges ahead will demand solutions that need care and collaboration. Dialogue-based practices create dynamic, deep thinking, open-minded, compassionate, and empowered citizens. And that's the kind of education to truly ignite the heart and mind. Thank you.